and we all try to build something that's really meaningful.
Yeah.
And when we do that and the signups just kind of trickle in and you start wondering what's wrong.
Hmm.
Today we're going to talk about why some of those seats are empty or stay empty and what we can do to turn those around. Now, of course, there's many different reasons, but I'm going to share with you some of the reasons that I've found, because sometimes you get lazy and fall into bad habits. And whenever I've realized that some retreats are not filling, I go back to these basic pieces to make sure that the secret sauce is there. And a lot of us think that it has to do with pricing or marketing, and we try discount codes or we push more social media posts or send more emails. But the real issue sits earlier in the process, even before pricing, even before promotions. If the core offer misses the mark, there's no amount of marketing that's going to fix it. So our focus today starts there. And once you get that part right, everything seems to move a lot easier. Colette, would you agree?
Yes, 125,000%. Because I think what happens is that when we're struggling as retreat leaders to sell retreats, we start with the most obvious things, right? That aren't really there. I call them like almost like, I'm into social. So, I have these things called vanity metrics. Like I don't care how many likes we get or how many people follow us. Like that really is not telling me what's going on. And we hit on these two things that you said last week about social media and what was the other one? At any rate, we hit on them, and those things are not going to move the needle for you. I think really what happens is we create an offer, and our offer is misaligned to our community, to the people who we're trying to talk to or we assume are going to be a part of what it is that we have going on. And I think that's the piece that most retreat leaders skip is that you have to make sure that even if the retreat is meaningful to you, it has to speak to the person that you're hoping to attract, right? And if it doesn't hit that core pain point, then they're not going to be compelled to move, you know? Um, and I
Yeah,
think we quite often skip that step because a lot of us who do host retreats, we get this download and then we immediately go into the pretty and the aesthetic, like, oh, I want to host it here and I want to do this and I want it to look like this. But like, how is it agitating that pain point just enough to get people to self-identify and say, oh, well, I think I need that and take action and move forward.
yeah, absolutely. And I would argue that half of our struggle or half of our job is finding our tribe that wants to follow us, letting them know that we are there and what we offer, what we stand for, what our mindset is, and all that stuff. And then creating an offer for them. Now, I've built the last 10 years building over 10,000 followers who want to uh, go on a certain type of trip. Okay. If all of a sudden I come out of left field and say, we're going to start doing knitting retreats, that is not aligned with what I've been building for the last 10 years. Okay. And so it's really important that I build retreats that are aligned. So when we say your offer is misaligned, maybe you've built a certain audience, but you're offering them something that they really don't want. Maybe it's solving the wrong problem. And if they see the wrong problem addressed, they're just going to scroll past. They're not going to pause. They're not going to click. And they're not going to feel any pull because the message misses them entirely. And if the problem sounds vague, they're never going to
Mhm.
see themselves in it. They're going to say, okay, it's a nice idea, but it's not for me. So when you see really vague shit like reset, recharge, reconnect,
Yeah,
it's
what does that
not
mean?
right. It sounds pleasant,
Yeah.
but it doesn't spark any action. It doesn't tell the buyers what changes for them. It doesn't tell the buyers that your retreat matters. And so potential customers are just going to shrug and move on. Colette.
Yeah, we work together quite a bit, and we see and we help other retreat leaders with their retreat pages and things like that. And every time someone is having difficulty getting their community to move forward, you are 100% correct. I think 80% of the time it's the vague language about what the outcome is going to be. It's not rooted, right? I think also, oh, I want to make a point to our folks that are here is like, yeah, Nick has a community of 10K. My community is probably 2K. My retreats are 10K in the south of France for a very niche group. So it's not about the amount, that vanity metric we were talking about. It's not about the amount of people, right? It's about finding those people who are really connected to you and really speaking into them and making sure that they understand the transformation that they're getting. I think also that leads me to, I think our next point is there's no defined transformation, right? Like
100%.
what when I walk away, it doesn't matter if it's we've seen knife retreats where people go to like Asia and learn how those beautiful kitchen knives are made and how to use them. Like it doesn't matter what you're selling, right? If there's no transformation and you're only describing the features and not the outcome, it's going to be difficult to move those people along. Like who
Absolutely.
are you talking? Like, what is this really about? Why am I going to drop 5K for this when I could go do it myself or go chat GPT it or whatnot? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. The buyer wants to know that, you are talking directly to them, that they are your target audience. And that takes me to the third point is the wrong audience target. And this one is huge because many leaders just aim too broad. They try to reach out to absolutely everybody, and they think that their broad language is going to bring in more buyers, and it does not. It weakens the message. If you try to reach everyone, you reach no one. And this kind of goes back last week. We had an example where there was a yoga retreat that said everyone is welcome. And I'm like, 4-year-olds are welcome? My 98-year-old bow-legged granny is welcome? I don't want to go on that retreat. That has no appeal to me whatsoever. I need something that's going to speak to me with an emotional hook. People want to feel chosen. They want to feel uh, that the message speaks to them. Okay. So for
Yeah.
an example, women who are 45 to 55 rebuilding life after an empty nest. They're entering a new chapter. They carry questions about purpose. They feel lost with a new sense of freedom. They wonder who they are now that the role that they've been playing for decades has shifted. So they're not looking for a vague reset. They're
Mhm.
looking for support, identity, connection, direction. They're looking for those emotional needs. And so if your retreat speaks directly to those needs, you're going to grab their attention fast. So, um,
I think, Nick, one way for us as retreat leaders not to go into a tizzy and spiral when we're talking about creating and trying to get people to buy tickets is really looking at it at like a target, right? Like, you're playing darts and you're aiming for the bullseye. Of course, you're going to hit outside of the bullseye, right? And in this case, that those outside of the bullseye is just people self-identifying, right? Like you're speaking to a specific person, but because you're so specific about who it is you're talking to, other people will start self-identifying and being like, oh, well, I think I'm dealing with this, or I think I'm struggling with this, or I could use help with this, or this intrigues me. So it's not like you're alienating everybody, but to your point, if you're speaking to everybody, then you're speaking to no one, right? You got to get really laser focused in your vernacular. And I just want to drive that home because that I think that is it's scary, when you got skin in the game and you're just like, frantically trying to get people in. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about some simple fixes and what we can do here. And I know, Colette, you and I had talked about these, and you were going to talk about this one, but I'm going to take this one because I
Okay.
love this idea. Building the offer backwards. So many of us start at the wrong end of solving the problem. So what I like to do is imagine myself on the second to last day of the retreat. How is everybody feeling? How are they acting, interacting with each other? How do I want them to feel? What did they solve while they were with me? And then you shape your sessions, your activities, and all that stuff around what's going to support that outcome. So many of us are like, okay, so we're going to do yoga on day one, and then we're going to take a meditation walk on day two, and somehow magically this is going to lead to transformation. Do it the other way around. Figure out how you want them to feel, how to act, what you're going to solve, so that you've got that end in mind, and then build the activities and the sessions and everything else from there. That's going to give your retreat clarity and direction, and a focused outcome is going to make your offer stand out.
I love it. I think also tied to that is the promise of your retreat, right? Like that
100%.
is the crux of your offer is like, what are these people getting? In one or two sentences, you should be able to tell folks who the retreat is for and what they're going to walk away with, you know? Because it's your anchor. It really is. Like this retreat is for Black women who want to find community, and the retreat helps them get clear in how to navigate the world without, you know, code switching or whatever. But I think you got to have a promise and you got to be really tight around that promise and that connects to what you just talked about for sure.
I'm sipping coffee yesterday morning, listening to the stories of my guys. And like I said, I don't know 80% of these guys. They have everybody except for me, my partner Bob, and one other guy has been married to a woman. Okay. So, and they mostly all divorced after the age of 40 or 50. So I'm thinking my wheels are turning as I'm thinking
Mhm.
of this conversation today. And I'm thinking, okay, I need a retreat aimed at gay men over the age of 40 or 50, navigating life after a divorce and living with loneliness, and have a retreat that's going to have them regain emotional strength, feel supported, and open space for new connections amongst themselves. So get very specific on who that message is for. Build your retreat promise that way.
And I think once you do that, we also talked about being able to show proof. And I think this gets, especially our new retreat leaders, gets them a little hung up because they're like, well, this is my very first retreat. I've never done it. How do I do that? I haven't been to the location, blah, 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 blah. But just leaning into storytelling, making connections, everyday connections, using your story to seed the idea of the transformation is going to go a long way. It's one going to show people that you know what you're talking about and you might be one or two steps ahead of them so that they can learn and glean from you, right? But then it's also going to build confidence that, you know, they can trust what you're saying and then they can trust by, paying into into the retreat, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't think you need like 50 million stories. You just need to hone in on your story and share that. And then, of course, if you have client testimonials or if you've been on retreat before, you start gathering that and then, adding that in to your social proof. But I think really it's, starting out the gate with edifying yourself, really.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then one more thing that is an integral part of why people may not be buying is we need to reduce the friction between the point where they're interested and the time they give you that credit card number.
Ah, yes.
So many
That's a
people
big one.
pull back because things get really freaking complicated. And the smallest amount of confusion will slow them down. And if they're unclear, they're just going to stop because the process all of a sudden feels heavy. So I know somebody who has in their sign up sheet,
Uh-huh.
it has like they want 6 forms filled out before that customer even puts down a credit card number.
I'm never going on that retreat. I'm telling you right now, I'm never going on
No,
that retreat.
no,
Nope.
I've got to
That's
have
like
document.
applying for a job and
Right,
submitting your resume. And then after you submit your resume, you got to type in everything that you just submitted that's on the resume. I'm not doing that.
right.
Girl,
Let
no.
me know clear pricing, clear deadlines, the payment plans if necessary. Just get me from point A to B. I want to feel that little bit of adrenaline when I put down my name, give you my credit card number, and it says paid. And all of a sudden, I am
You're locked
hook,
in.
line, and single into that retreat. So make it simple. Make it simple. You don't need gimmicks. You don't need pressure. You just need clarity and a way for it to feel simple for people to join. Groovy?
Groovy. Yes, 100%. I love to truncate that time between, yes, I want to go, and yes, they give that deposit.
Absolutely. Let's recap. Number one,
Okay.
define your guest. Okay. Know exactly who you're going to be offering to. Write a one sentence about that specific guest, not a broad group, not women, not men, not busy professionals. One clear person with an emotional need that they need to carry, that they are carrying, that they need solved, something that keeps them stuck, what they feel, what they're craving. Bring that in, and that's going to help make your promise seem clearer. Speaking of promise, Colette, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So then what we're going to do is we're going to get really clear about your core offer and cut the vague language in your promise, right? Um, because it weakens the clarity. A confused buyer is not a buyer. They're just going to move on, right? If they have to make too many decisions. And then make the results visible, whether those are, results outside of yourself or your results. I had never taken women to the south of France when I started my retreat. I had been myself. I had a story to tell, and through that story is what made those results visible. So I think that there's that. And then review your sales page and make sure that you have complete clarity. Remove the features, lean into the outcomes. What are people actually going to walk away with? How are their lives going to be changed? And look, it doesn't have to be dramatic. Again, we all speak from our own experiences. I take women to the south of France to learn, the French culture and how to swan around and live a beautiful life, right? Like it doesn't have to be rocket science that they're learning, but there has to be clear outcomes about what they're going to take away when they leave that retreat. I think is really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Not all transformation has to be, growing a third eye and being able to talk to dead relatives. A lot of times it's just making new friends at this point in life or understanding a part of somebody else's culture that just didn't make sense before, or going to a foreign country and then coming back home and saying, "Oh my God, things are really kind of different
Yeah.
here." That's all transformation. It's education, but it's major transformation as well. So replace features with outcomes. Uh, Let them know about the shifts that are going to happen inside of them, and yeah, lift their interests. So that's about all that I've got for right now. Just move forward with clarity, folks.